Hello, extra time.
They're important to the league not to get a hook because it damages your reputation. It makes people, when they read it, just laugh at you.
Simple look, they're playing in the League One and they're playing in the Europa League and they're credit and the game in this country. Maybe we should get Stephen Kavanagh to manage the Irish team.
Hello, welcome to another episode of the extratime.com podcast. Your host, Luke Jordan. Right to say Stephen Kavanagh on the trade. Stephen, how are you?
Yeah, all good, Luke. Cheers. Thanks for having me on. How's it going with you?
Yeah, we're on summer holidays. I can't complain. Can you complain?
Absolutely not.
No, that's why we can record on a Friday morning when most people are working. Yeah. Later on, we chat to Gary Dicker about his career as a player. Also, most important, we chat about his coaching career, which I'm very interested in. He's the current under-21 assistant coach at Brighton, Hove, Albion. And also, we chat to Macdara Ferris later on the show with the women's team playing last night in the friendly against Zambia. It was Zambia, wasn't it? Was Zambia?
It was, yeah, 3-2. Yeah.
It was Zambia. Yeah, it was Zambia. A 3-2 win against Zambia in Tala Stadium. But first, I suppose you can see my big intake of breath there. We'll do a quick digest of the international team, the men's international team, I should say. Yeah. Where do we go from here? I was on a real high on holidays. Now I just brought it right back down to earth. I'm slumping into my chair. Yeah. The Ireland team. We'll chat a bit more about it with Gary Dicker later on because he's actually at the game in Athens. But I suppose from two fan perspectives, you know, we'll be quick in terms of watching Steve look back to two games now, a couple of days reflection, a week reflection on the Greece game. Is it as bad as everyone says it is, or is it just where we are?
Yeah, it's a little bit hard to well, not so much hard to talk about, but it's hard to kind of I find it a little bit hard to comprehend because okay, Greece are obviously not a team that we should be beating, but it's a team that I think we look at, especially with the group that we got with the Netherlands and France. It's the team that we're kind of going, right, that's going to be our biggest challenge, you would imagine, for third place. It may not turn out like that now with the current form of the Netherlands, but that's what it looked like. And I know some of the pundits and things were saying at the start of it, whatever about a must win, it was a must not lose game. And unfortunately, that is the way it went. And it didn't look particularly convincing. They didn't look particularly comfortable from minute one. And you know, it's not even something that we could really blame the conditions and things like that on, because I had heard that, you know, for this time of the year it was fairly cool in Greece. Now, obviously, that's still going to be pretty warm, but you know, they weren't running around in 30 odd degrees heat. I think the Greek and the Irish players would have had probably similar amounts of time off and things like that. But you know, a lot of people have said it that it is just kind of where the team is at the moment. I think if you look throughout the teams, the Irish team is probably kind of two-man playing at a lower level, and I think it's one of those things as well that the manager will always be the first head in the chopping block. It may not be completely his fault, you know, with the players that he's got. Now, I'm not going to sit here and say that he's got absolutely everything wrong. Everything right. I don't think he has, but I don't think he's got everything wrong either. So yeah, it's a bit of a thankless task, but at the same time, I think from what we've seen, and especially with the games we've seen against France, where we were really, really unlucky not to come away with something. The game against Portugal that we drew, even friendly against Belgium not too long ago, we seem to kind of put up a bit of a fight against bigger nations and bigger teams, and then the appetite and maybe, I don't know, kind of the occasion or a bit more sense of expectation sort of gets to the players in the games against the likes of Greece. So yeah, it's a little bit of a difficult one when you think of how well we played against the likes of France, and then the players just seem to freeze then against Greece.
Yeah. Look, before we get to my own opinion on the games the last week, I actually spoke to a couple of fans just outside the Aviva when they were leaving the game against Gibraltar. Let's have a listen to some of the fan reaction to what they thought of the game and their thoughts of Stephen Kenny's future.
On the game today? Yeah, it was just about done enough to pass ourselves, didn't we, really? Like, nil each half time was looking a disaster, but at the end of the day we got our goals. Second half, take the embarrassment off us. Is it enough to save him? I don't think so, no, not really, not after the debacle of Greece, really, to be honest with you, so he saved the skin to an extent on the pitch tonight, but longer term, get into Holland, France away next couple of games, no, not enough for me. I think it's time for a change,
You wouldn't have confidence in Stephen Kenny come September?
I wouldn't have confidence really based on his track record, no, unfortunately. We all wish him well, but really the much promised good football and young people coming through, he's went out the window very quickly. So good guy, but unfortunately he just hasn't delivered. He hasn't delivered in 3 years. Why would he deliver in 2 of the hardest games coming up over the next few months? I don't think he can,
I just want to jump in. Anyone that disagree with that?
Yes.
Yeah, go on.
He had no confidence last September. I think he needs to learn. I think he needs to know that you can't do it all with young fellas. You need a bit of experience there. And obviously he started off with McLean, who had a good game, and then Brown came on, and I think that was it. And I saying that Johnson was the difference tonight. So I think if he learns that, you can't just bull on in there. There's old heads can do something for you.
Would you leave it to the end of the campaign then, Stephen Kenny?
He's only learned. He had this philosophy, as they now say, and it's not worked. And now I think he needs to realise, bring in a few old heads.
Okay. What's in the game?
I thought they did enough to get the win. It's Gibraltar, but still France only beat him 3-0. We beat him 3-0. So you kind of have to compare and contrast, and it was. Do you know what? It's better than nothing. It's better than losing to Gibraltar, which would have had Kenny out in his arse.
Thoughts on the game, and what you think, Kenny in or out?
I'd say he's definitely till the end of the campaign. I wouldn't be getting rid of him because they've no one else come in. He's an Irish manager who's actually doing something. He's trying to play a certain way. If they get rid of him now, who are they going to get in? They've no money. They're going to get someone in who's going to throw it all out, rip it all up, and have kicking balls up high to Evan Ferguson again. I'd say keep him in anyway. There's still a chance to play off the way the Nations League and all that's lined up. There's very much a chance he can get a playoff still, and obviously he got a hard draw, so I'd say keep him in for now anyway.
Yep. Cheers, thanks. Lads, thoughts on the game? Go to yourself first.
I thought it was a very good performance now in the second half. First half wasn't so great, but it's great to see Fergo get a wee qualifying goal,
Yourself?
Yeah, no, it wasn't a great first half. Now, he came out in the second half a lot better. Obviously, he scored 3 more goals. But I would like to see them put them away properly. Maybe 5 goals if you want to be qualifying properly, or make a dent in the European, in the Europa League.
I know what you meant, European qualifiers. In terms then of the manager, a lot of pressure on after the Greece game. What do we think? Should he stick, or should the FDI twist and move him on?
I think we definitely stick with them for the Euros. If the Euro campaign doesn't go as we want, I think maybe we look at leaving. I actually thought Brendan Rodgers was a good shout, but now he's gone again. But I think for the Euros we stick. But then when it comes to the World Cup qualifiers, boys, we need to be getting there.
Yourself?
Yeah, no, I thought keep him at the start. I suppose the Greece game was a bad performance, but it's you can't be really changing manager at this stage, do you know what I mean? But maybe we'll see how it goes, and maybe think about changing them up after the qualifier, see how it goes.
Boys, thank you. Cheers.
There's a lot of commentary around the team at the moment, and rightly so, and I'm not trying to overly defend Stephen Kenny here, or not trying to be but when you look at other teams that are of a similar nation to us, and Liam Brady came out and said, and it's not often I agree with Liam Brady's view on modern football, but it's hard to get away from the fact that there's many things you can do with a team, but sometimes if you look at the playing pool there at the moment, I just think that's the best that we have currently, and it's when we go away to home to Greece, and when we go away to nations that are maybe as some people view that we should be competing with, that you look at the teams they have compared to us. We can talk about Scotland, or we can talk about Wales, even that similar teams. They're just pound better than us. I don't care what Didi Hammond was saying, something similar or saying we're not as bad as other nations in terms of players, but the reality is, if you look at our players, we're a championship team. That's what we are. If you report our team the championship, probably comes 12 to 11, 12 in Championship. That's probably what you're looking at. And like, if it wasn't for Evan Ferguson that burst on the scene the last years to 8 months, you know, there's no real consistent Premier League player that's playing at a good level, because Bazunu was, I think, relegated.
He was dropped before that as well.
He was dropped because, unfortunately, when you have a terrible defensive front, you're getting peppered, your confidence is going to be shot.
Exactly, yeah.
You know, you're looking at the back three the other night. Okay, John Egan got promoted this season, but he relegated a few seasons ago. Darrell Lennon, solid championship defender, and the right centre half, his name's Nathan Collins. Okay, Nathan Collins, I think he's one of our better players, but lost his place in the Wolves team in January. Hasn't gone back since when Craig Dawson came in. The midfield, a championship player, another championship player, another championship player. Our left wing back got relegated from the championship. Our right wing back couldn't get a game. Tottenham went to Atletico Madrid, got 7 minutes of football. And then up front, then we're looking at a player barely played for Norwich and Evan Ferguson. So when you look at it, taking away the management team and whatever other aspect people might blame or who's at fault, if you just look at the deck of cards you have, there's no one, bar maybe Coleman, who's also 35 in October, there's no one really there that you can say that can definitely enhance that team when he's available or they're available. You know, I'm just saying, I think, well, Stephen Kenny definitely has some brunt to blame for the performance, but possibly tactically wrong, whatever the case may be. But at the end of the day, and that's why I'm interested to get Gary Ticker's view later on, because he's obviously a Premier League coach, and you know, it's different to us. We're only fans watching it, but I'd be very sympathetic towards him, because a lot of the players that he probably banked on to progress, like the likes of Parrott and maybe other footballers he'd hoped that would progress in the last 2 years, that hasn't happened. And the only one that's really progressed in such a short space of time is probably Ferguson, that he's playing consistently in a Premier League club. So I don't think the blame is just totally Stephen Kenny. It's a complete issue of Irish football, and this is just come to fruition now, and this is the level we're currently at. I think we're just a 4th seed in a group, and that's what we have to get used to.
Yeah, no, I'd agree with you pretty much everywhere there. I think, you know, with the level of players and the caliber of players and that. Yeah, I mean, I'd say that the main argument to be made against Stephen Kenny would be, you know, he needs to play to the strengths of the players that he has. Now, Ireland has done that for quite a while under the likes of Trapattoni, Martin O'Neill, and Nick McCarthy and that. And while we may have picked up a few results here and there, it's been really just bad football to watch. It just hasn't been nice to be able to, you know, like, I'm a season ticket holder for the Ireland games, have been for the last 10 or so years. And it's not a particularly nice brand of football to be paying to watch. Now, I know with the stuff with Stephen Kenny, whatever about the players and that, he is at least trying to play some sort of an attractive brand of football. Now, obviously, we haven't exactly got the players to be playing that at the moment. But I think it's, for me anyway, it's difficult to kind of be on the side of Kenny in or Kenny out, because for the side of Kenny in, he hasn't really got the results to be able to deserve that affirmation, I suppose, from the fans and from the FAI. But at the same time, if you're Kenny out, I don't really think there's a huge amount of managers who are going to come in and do anything much better. You know, I've seen the likes of Sam Allardyce's name banded about, Robbie Keane's name banded about. We've seen the dangers of you know, bringing in a legend or an ex-player with the likes of Steven Gerrard and the likes of Frank Lampard coming in, and it just doesn't go down well for them. Now, you know, obviously I can't say that has happened with Robbie, but I just think it's kind of a dangerous game to be playing. And then Sam Allardyce, while he is known for kind of turning around results for lesser teams, he's one of these managers that you get in maybe on a short-term basis a lot of the time to really get you out of a hole, to try and save you from relegation. Obviously, it didn't happen this year. But to try and save you from relegation, or to pick up kind of the odd few results here and there, I don't really think he's a long-term manager, and I don't know who would be, kind of from the names that I've seen banded about the place. Obviously, if they were going to look closer to home, I would say Stephen Bradley is going to be the top candidate, just from where Rovers have gone, and kind of the success that he's had. But at the same time, Rovers are the richest team in the league, and kind of they have the best players because they can afford them. So I'm not saying that Stephen Bradley is a bad manager, but he's obviously got the resources kind of to be able to show his managerial qualities, I suppose, if you like, maybe that some others wouldn't have. So yeah, I think it's just a little bit of a dangerous game to be playing, whether you're Kenny in or Kenny out. I think he will and should probably get to the end of the qualifying campaign. But in order for him to be able to keep his job after that, he's going to need to pick up some results somewhere.
Yeah, and look, I think Stephen Kenny's not immune to criticism. People probably who know me, or this is the podcast, know my position on the manager. I'd be quite in favour of him. I think my criticism will actually come more in the Gibraltar game, where I think people have short memories. I remember, if you go back and listen to the media and listen to ex-pundits who are calling for his head now again, or ex-players, who are now pundits, and everyone was screaming to play 3-5-2 because it suited the personnel we have currently. And then to fast forward 2 years, everyone's giving out of the 3-5-2. So again, people have short memories of football, which is just annoys me. But that's not the point. In terms of the game itself against Gibraltar, that was a game I was covering the game for extra time, so I was obviously at a high point in the stand, and there was no need to play 3 centre backs against Gibraltar. Like, that was evident after 5 minutes, because Gibraltar are always going to come in, set up a very low block, probably the lowest block ever put in football, nearly just on the 6-yard box, and try not to concede and hold out for a nil draw, because that's what they have to do, and that's no problem with that. Different teams have to play certain ways, but at one stage in the game, I remember taking photographs, sent to my mates, that there was just a time where there was that lad up front for Gibraltar, number 9, and he'd Collins, Egan, and O'Shea. I'm going to say it was O'Shea. It was Darryl O'Shea played. Yeah. They'd trade him aside him for no reason. We'd one player out wide in each wing, so it was very easy when the ball was switched out to, say, Knight or McLean. It was very easy for them to double up or to get out on the block across, or tell them to force back in. It was, it was just crying out for a game. 4-3-3, 2v2s out wide, 2v1s. That's what the game needed. And again, this is what the managers, there's credit and fairness to him, because he did go 4-3-3 in the second half, and we got the goals and got the bit of luck. But look, you need a bit of luck in football, and when you have the ball for that long and you are sustaining pressure, you will create chances from mistakes, and that's what happened. We took the free kick, hit the wall, bounced to Johnston, went in, and that was the luck we needed on the day. And then we got 2 decent goals from a cross in the box. So look, I think he will be judged on results, and I would say at this moment of time that I doubt he'll be removed as manager during the summer. Stranger things have happened. It is the FAI, but I think that he will survive the campaign, and I think he really would have to keep his job. He'd need probably a point against Netherlands or France, won them, and then beat Greece comfortably at home. And I think that would give him some sort of a position maybe to retain his job. But if he loses the 2 games against the Dutch and the French, and possibly draws or loses to the Greeks at home, I think that'd be that. I think I don't see it from.
It could be just me with my optimistic hat. But obviously playing Greece away isn't going to be ideal. So hopefully, you would think, and having the experience of having played them in Athens already, it might be a bit of a different competition when you play them in Dublin. France, from what I saw and what I heard, weren't particularly convincing against Greece the other day. They only won 1-0 in the Stade de France, and I think it was a penalty as well. The Netherlands have been off form as well. So, it's one of those things that people might they might be hopeful of getting the odd result here and there. So like I say, stranger things have happened, but you never know. So it'll be interesting, I think, to see what he does kind of with the formation, whether he'll stay with the 3-5-2 or whether he'll stay for a 4-3-3. I did think it was kind of funny though that like you say, people were looking for a 3 at the back, and they're calling it a 3 at the back all the time, and then suddenly he plays it against Gibraltar and it's a 5 at the back, looking really defensive as opposed to being more attacking with the 2 wing backs. Obviously, like you say, it didn't work. He did well to be able to change it and bring Johnson on. Johnson's, I turned to my mate who was with me and said, he's a bit of crack, isn't he? He's just he runs and causes a bit of trouble. I think a lot of people were a little bit disappointed that he didn't start, but he did show his credentials when he came on then the other day. So yeah, I think it'll be one of those wait and see situations. I'd like to see him finish out the campaign anyway. And we also need to remember, I think, with the state that Irish football has been in for the last number of years, and the state the FAI has been in, he really hasn't come in at a good time. I'm hoping that the FAI will kind of clean itself up and turn itself around, and we may be able to see and reap the benefits of that in terms of international football. But again, that might take 5, 10, 15 years to be able to come around. So while he may not be blessed with a golden generation, he has got some talent, and he has got, it's quite a young squad. There's a couple of people moving up to the Premier League again. Looks like Dara O'Shea might be heading off to Burnley. So that'll be good for him going into the Premier League under Vince Company as well. So yeah, who knows? Like you say, stranger things have happened, but I think you'll probably see out the rest of the campaign.
Yeah. Now, look, you mentioned just in terms of football in general, Ireland, look, it's not that long ago we didn't even have national leagues. That's the reality of it. We don't have €1 million academies. We don't have barely any full-time coaching staff in Ireland. Most clubs have a director of football. I think we have the fewest. I remember seeing the report there less than a year ago. We have the fewest academy coaches in Europe, alongside some of the poorest nations in terms of football. We're beside them. So when you put that into account, we'll be here all day. I'm not going to bore people. We'll be here all day, and there's factors to why where we are now at currently with the Irish team. And I always believe that the escape for the Irish team has always been the case, that we can just go to England and get someone who was half decent, who has an Irish grandparent, and get them to play.
Yeah.
But that's become rare and rare. Look what's happened in the international break with Tom Callan, for example. England are much more aware now of this today. They don't let players slip through their grass. They cap everyone. They keep everyone in their system. In past generations, there'd probably be other players that were playing for Ireland because the England team was probably a bit better, or it was more availability of players in the Premier League and the old First Division. So we got to scrap people along with other nations. That's gone those days. It's not really happening anymore, unless you're a Callum Robinson, or Scotland got Angus Gunn because he was 5th choice with England. He was never going to get capped for England. You had Pickford and whatnot, Pope, all these goalkeepers ahead of him. So he declared for Scotland at the age of 27. But he wasn't declaring at 21. For Scotland. And so look, I think we'll leave that there, because I don't want to go on a rant, and if I do, I'll end up doing an Dunphy rant and start throwing the pen across the desk. So
I'll end up in tears.
Yeah, so let's leave it there, and look, we'll bring in Gary Digger. So.
And there's kind of a lot of grumbling about maybe we don't have enough Premier League players, but in terms of the Championship,
but what's the point in grumbling about it?
But the step
I can't argue about it, can I? If they're not playing the play, what's the point of me grumbling?
The step up to international football from the Championship is it's an easy management.
Well, I tell you back there when we played in 2002, what's the point of me grumbling? We had lads who were all at the bottom of the Premier League, real scrapping away, Kince and Matty Holland, and I had Gary Breen, who hadn't even got a club. What's the point of me grumbling? So I don't subscribe to that. You just, whatever it is, whatever I've got, I'll get them together and make the best of them and try and make sure we qualify. Grumbling is not one of the things I do.
You can subscribe to each new episode of the extratime.ie Sportscast on iTunes. Please give a rating or add a comment there to let us know your views.
Welcome back to part 2. Stephen Kavanagh is still here. Now we're delighted to welcome on Brighton on 21 coach Gary Digger. Gary, how are you?
I'm very well, lads. How are you keeping?
Good. I suppose we're just chatting off air, and we'll probably start with the Irish team, because you were actually in Athens at the game. As we were saying there, it's been a referendum probably again with Stephen Kenny's future. But just on the game first, what's your negative performance in Athens of the Irish game?
I think, listen, when you're away from home at any level, it's always going to be a tough game, no matter who you're playing. And probably to get in at half time at 1-1, with probably how the first 10-15 minutes went, the pressure of waves of attack and corners coming, and it's difficult as a player. Sometimes you need a break at half time, and they got back into the game with a well-worked goal, and you're probably thinking, well, you can stay in it probably for longer periods of the game. Greece might come out a little bit more and leave a few more gaps, but it wasn't to be. Listen, and we all know you don't want to start with, obviously, the France game, and that game with 2 defeats in the group. It gives you an uphill task straight away. But it was a difficult night, I think, if I can put it that way. Sitting watching the game, and we never really got goal in the game at all. We didn't really have a long spell in the game, probably that you usually get in a few games. But it was just a disappointing result, really, all over.
In terms of, I suppose, Stephen Kenny, like we were saying there, on that, like every time he loses a game, it seems like he's under pressure, and I suppose losing that game in particular was a big game in terms of qualification. Again, some journalists are already saying that that's qualification over. Second time around, 2 games in, it's over for the Irish team. I suppose my question is, from a coaching perspective, would you see much progression with the Irish team the last couple of years from Stephen Kenny? Because one of the things, I suppose, back home is that a lot of the ex-players are already out of the game now, and obviously pundits are giving their opinion and very critical of them. But maybe it's from a coaching perspective, someone's actively involved in coaching. Is there progression in the Irish team, you think, in the last couple of years under Stephen Kenny, or is it like what are pundits saying, that there has been no progression?
I'd definitely listen, the style of play, but different shape. I can't remember last time. I can't really remember Ireland playing anything other than 4-4-2 growing up, or 4-5-1. So listen, I can see why he's probably tried to play 3 at the back, because we're quite heavy with good central defenders. They're young. He's trying to fit a system around that, probably, to get his better players in the pitch. And he's probably gone with that and trusts himself with that as a coach. It's probably difficult to keep flipping with the amount of time you have with players. I know what it's like trying to drill something in, and the next time you see them, the day after you see them, you're thinking, he's remembered, he's forgot. So there's different styles like that. It's hard, probably. I've not been an international manager, but I can imagine the amount of work you're trying to cram in a short space of time is very difficult. It might be a few months until the next time you see him, and going around. So listen, he's tried to change. He's made the team a hell of a lot younger. He's gave loads of debuts, and it's what you measure as success. And probably not me to answer that. It's probably the FAI, because, as you said, everyone will have targets and objectives to meet, and where they see it at. And when he had the job, he probably had certain targets to hit. Style of play be one, bringing players through, obviously, and then it comes with results as well, which you need as a manager at senior level. So listen, he's probably ticked a hell of a lot more boxes than people probably realise, and he'll know himself. He doesn't need to tell me or anyone else, and to tell you that you need to win football games. He's been in football long enough. He'll know that. He'll be hurting just as much as anyone. And as I said, the easiest thing in football, listen, is to criticise someone. And you only realise now, probably now I have, and the best managers are worked under, and how much work goes into it, the stress of it, everyone telling you what you should have done after it. So no, listen, I want to see Ireland successful, but at the end of the day, you do need results. So it'll probably be what the aims and the targets are, probably from the FAI down with him. Only they'll know that really, because I think most managers will know when you go straight into a job. Well, I know is, well, we want to get this, we want to do that. Our aim at Brighton is top 10. So everyone knows. If you don't get that, no problem. If you do it the Brighton way and the style of play we're trying to do, yeah, you might come up short. So I think he's got enough people telling him what he should have done without me jumping on the bandwagon, to be honest.
Gary, just going in terms of the fact, like, where the team was when he picked up, like, obviously Mick McCarthy came in as a bit of an interim manager because they didn't really know what else to do, I suppose. And the fact that, I know the phrase transitional period has been thrown around quite a lot. And it kind of has been. And like you say, he's brought in a lot of younger players. And there's kind of only a handful of the older players, like James McLean, for example, who've kind of stuck around. Would you think that it's fair, the amount of criticism that he's getting, or is it a little bit kind of unjustified considering what he's had to work with and the environment he's coming into?
I think everything's over the top now. That's everything in the world. I think you're either hero or zero now. There's literally no middle ground, especially with social media now. The power that has at clubs. Listen, I've been at clubs where I've seen it, and managers, and it's put people under pressure, and you're thinking social media is putting people under pressure. Noise outside. So, listen, I've been there myself and been battered from pillar to post as a player. I'll get it as a manager. So I think it is, listen, it's extreme constantly when it's the same stuff and the same questions you're being asked. And there's only so much you can say as a coach or as a player. I know you guys want us to come out and tell you everything, but you can't. You're restricted with how open you can be all the time with media. So I fear from that way, because you've got to have a level of professionalism, control. You can't give too much away. So listen, it's a tough job. Everyone knows that. But the transition, as you said, with how we want to change how we play, the age of the squad now. As I said, it's probably the objectives that the FAI and he had between when he was getting the job, where they wanted to see us go, the process, the plan in place, because it's not easy, and you've got to have that. You've got to have a plan. I think you see it now at our club. You can't get anywhere on a whim. You can't wing it. There's too much now. Too many people analysing everything. Everything he does, every session, training camp. And I'm sure he's putting in the work like all the staff are and the players. I know a few of the players that are playing, obviously Evan and Jason Malumbi that are there, and you won't get two more prouder Irishmen that want to do well for the country. So I'll never batter or beat the bush down at people, because I know how hard it is out there playing. And it is an Irish team that probably wants to give everything for the first time in a long time. Not saying that they didn't, but you've got lads there that I can't remember many pulling out of his squad in the last 2 years. People wanting to be there. So he's done a lot of good things, as I said, and credit probably to the FAI for hanging in there and probably backing him as well. We all moan about managers not getting time. And if he said he's got to the end of this campaign, well, they're sticking to their dues as well and backing the manager as well. So you've got to give them credit, because they could have easily have wiped the slate clean and gone again, and you're still chasing your tail.
No, actually, it's funny. I actually agree with you in terms of the criticism he gets. I think people in Ireland, unfortunately, I think we all forget sometimes in terms of where this Irish team is actually at. Like, even if you compare, say, Scotland, a team that's similar in population to us, and look at their midfield that played against Georgia, I had jot down John McGinn, Scott McTominay, and Callum McGregor. Two of them are going to play in Champions League football, and one of them playing Europa League football next season. Our midfield the night was Josh Cullen, who got promoted in Premier League, Jason Malumbi, and Will Smallbone making his competitive debut. And I think that's, in terms of, we're not comparing it with Spain, or we're not comparing it with Portugal, we're comparing it with Scotland. and look at the levels in terms of the players they have to us. So I think sometimes, like as Stephen kind of said, maybe that the criticism is unjustified when you look at the playing pool we actually have. In terms of actually the formation, I suppose that's kind of been a talking point the last while. You mentioned there that it was something new we've brought in, and it probably does suit our strengths, the 3-5-2. But yourself, you would have played against Stephen Kenny's sides back in the League of Ireland. Are you surprised that he's been very rigid with the 3-5-2? Maybe say games against Gibraltar, like he hasn't gone back to his trusted 4-2-3?
Yeah, probably. As I said, listen, I'm not going to tell him what shape to play, but now, and I've seen it firsthand. I always used to annoy me with saying, "Oh, Irish players not used to it, not used to playing different shapes." Listen, majority of them came through academies. You'll play 5 or 6 different shapes coming through an academy. You'd be playing with the ball at your feet. They can do it. They're in the same academies as the English lads that have been over there. The same coaching, level of coaching in Ireland now is getting really good with the schoolboy clubs, the League of Ireland clubs. So I always find that used to annoy me, thinking, they do know how to play. They have playing. So to see that, listen, and you've got to be adaptable. You've got to be, unless you're Man City, and even then they adapt. I think you see them when they play different games, how many players you want to build with, how many players you want to attack with. It's becoming so tactical now, and the game's evolved so much that it always is changing. I think at Brighton, you'll see it. We'll probably start in one shape with the ball and be in a different shape without the ball. It's forever changing. That doesn't mean we're all superhero and you got to change shape every time someone does something. But you got to counteract something. I'm probably touching on that. It probably suits the centre halves we have, but then it probably doesn't suit the wide players that we have that want to be higher up and probably want to be as a winger. So it's probably finding something that can fit everything. And then maybe sometimes you got to leave people out that you don't want to leave out for the betterment of the team or the shape of the team. And I'm sure, as I said, listen, him and his staff, I'm sure they've got enough experience and enough knowledge that they will speak about it. I think people saying, "Oh, they don't know." Listen, they've all been in football. You have John O'Shea there, Keith Andrews, the manager. They've all been involved the whole of football. I'm sure they understand that. And sometimes you might need a game like that. And credit to him, because he changed it the other night at Gibraltar at half time, but you don't hear a whisper about it because it's Gibraltar and we're expected to win. Where he got battered from it. So maybe that is sometimes, and sometimes you get that, you think, yeah, that suited us, that looked good. Maybe, I don't know, maybe he might have changed it earlier and probably would have got a lot more people off his back, but he's sticking to his principles and his guns and what he wanted to work as a coach. And that's one thing I'll probably learn is you want to play as you want to play, and you want to go out on your own sword, really. So, but that doesn't mean you can't be adaptable as well. So it was good to see, and I think it did look a lot better. We had probably more people. I think people think, 4-4-2. No, it's probably having more people ahead of the ball. I think when you looked at the Greece game, we had a lot of people behind the ball, looking for the ball short, not a lot of running in behind, stretching the game. There's no harm doing that early on either. And that comes with experience as well. Greece had an experienced team that night as well. A lot of lads in their late 20s and a very experienced manager as well.
You mentioned him there. I suppose he's the man at the moment. He's the darling maybe of Irish football, Evan Ferguson. Do you remember the first day he walked into the Under-21 side? Did he just stand out straight away?
He was in it already before I came back. I think he was in it at 16. When he first came over, and I played with him then in my first bit as the overage player. And I think I said it in an interview. Listen, everyone jumps on the bandwagon, probably saying, "Oh, I produced this player." Listen, at the end of the day, I'll always say it: no coach or manager, they'll improve you and make you better at that age, but getting through at a young age, it's all about your mentality. It's all about what you do day to day. And for him, and I'll always say it, probably that his mentality of not changing, doing the same stuff, working hard. Listen, he scored against Arsenal, he scored against other teams, playing Liverpool, scoring against Everton away, and you sit and have a chat with him, and there'd be no different. Where some lads would be climbing the walls and walking about with all sorts on and giving it this one and that one. He's and that's probably a credit to his family and him as well, with the people around him that he has, and his own upbringing and his own probably look on it and how grounded he is. I can't speak highly enough of that from him, to be honest with you. His football ability, listen, I think you need to be probably a man on the moon who probably couldn't see that from a young age. You would have seen it a lot earlier, probably with balls coming through. And it's a credit to himself, because it's very easy to dip when you're a high performer at 14, 15. Majority of them usually don't last the pace at 17, 18. Everyone starts to catch up, and to have that pressure at that age, I think people forget. I was only speaking to people in the office yesterday. I don't think people in Brighton realise the pressure that's on them at Ireland and being back in Ireland, and how much he's the saviour now, and the pressure that comes with that. Everyone thinking he's the next Robbie Keane. He's 18. He's got a handful of caps and 2 goals, and how he deals with that as a person and probably with his family, I can't speak highly enough of him.
And just kind of on the topic of Evan and kind of his League of Ireland career and going over at such a young age, obviously a lot was made in particular here when he made his debut. He made his debut in a friendly against Chelsea for Bows when he was 14. And then I think he played a handful of games then afterwards. I think his League of Ireland debut was up in Derry. Was there anything kind of said when he was coming in, or did he come in with any kind of a reputation? Obviously, you said you were kind of in the team with him when he first came over when he was about 16. Like, what was the kind of general opinion of him, or was he coming in with any kind of a reputation with any of the other players and coaches?
I think John Morland, who was the old academy manager, obviously John knew a hell of a lot about him. John has been with the FAI twice working with them, so I think John knew how good he was, which he does with most of the Irish lads that he brings over. And I think when you come over here, it's always the way. You're coming over from Ireland, everyone's probably having a look and thinking. And I think one of the coaches said, like one of the first days doing a finishing session with him, and he's smashing it in left, right, volleys, the lot. And then they said, oof, I'd look at him, and then they thought maybe he played with the 18s. I think he played a game with the 18s, and then that was it. He was straight in with the 21s at 16, and I think they knew. And it's always that one. Probably when I'm looking at it now, it's like we have to get him into the first team. If we don't get him in from what we're trying to add little bits to him, listen, he's got unbelievable talent. So it's probably us to probably nurture it and probably develop his tactical stuff and his understanding of the game probably now. And I think you'll see it now. He won't have a better manager to learn from right now than the one that's at the club. I'm excited for him because I'm thinking, what an education. And you probably won't see it as much, and you're thinking he's learning so much about the game. I remember speaking to him, and I'm like talking to him about his positions without the ball. I'm saying, wow, like, you're dropping in there, you're understanding the play in the back of the midfield that before you press the centre half. He's laughing at me going, I don't even know what I'm doing half the time, Dixie, I'm just doing it. So he's learning so much with the manager and so much playing with the players, and they've managed him well, to be fair. He wants to play every week, and the manager's pulled him out of games and brought him on in certain games. So but we got to remember it's an 18-year-old who wants to do what 18-year-olds normally do in life, and go out and relax and hang around with your mates and mess about and be a child a little bit. And the club's quite good at that, and he has done that. He still knocks about with the lads that are in the 18s. He could have still played in the U Cup, and I still think he can play in the U Cup this year, which is mental when you think about it. But I think it's just probably not building and adding more pressure to him, just letting him enjoy his football. I think the club have been really good at that with how they managed him. I think he speaks really well in his interviews for a young kid, which isn't easy. It took me about 15 years to get used to speaking and being relaxed. So to see him coming in and chatting, and even the media team here are really good with him, putting him out for certain things, dripping them into him. And he's took it on his stride, as I said. And I'll keep banging onto it about his upbringing and his parents, because I think without that, you've seen many kids that have come in and made their debuts, done stuff, and then blown away in a few months. So it's a massive credit to them and himself, because it's not easy to handle all that change in your life at that age.
The one thing from the outside looking at Brighton is the pathways to from the academy to the first team always seem to be there. Like we can list off probably 10 players we can probably name the last 10 years have gone from Brighton's academy into the first team. It must make sign for Brighton an attractive option for young lads who want to make the breakthrough in Premier League football.
Yeah, definitely. I think we had the most minutes for academy players last year again, which is a massive credit probably to the staff that started 10 years ago, really. I think everyone looks at it now when they build that academy first 10 years ago, and the plans that were in place then for it, to see it now. And it has got a pathway. Listen, we're not going to pay the money Chelsea are going to pay someone at 16, 17, 18. We're not going to pay the money that Man City, Arsenal. But as you said, we've got that pathway that it's there for you. If you come in and you're doing well and the manager thinks you're good enough, you're going to play. I think you looked at the Man City game, the average age of our team was so young. I don't know the average age, but it can't have been far over 20, early 20s. And it's a club that wants to invest in it. I think, as I said, we're at academy meeting yesterday, and the academy manager's talking about the chairman, talking about how many under-9s we had signed. He's excited about under-9s coming through now, and how many we've got signed. And you show it, listen, if you can get 4, 5 players through, it can save you some of the money in the transfer market these days if you can do it. And it's a big passion from the chairman and the club. He wants young players through. He wants homegrown players through. Fans want it. I want it because I'll stay in the job the more players we get through. But it's a credit to, probably, as I keep saying it, I'm not going to take credit for it for being there for 2 years. That vision started 10 years ago for this club, longer. The people that built it up, there's some great people along the way that have built that in the club now, that probably left the club now, and they've all played a massive part.
And Gary, just kind of on, obviously we've talked about the likes of Evan Ferguson, but there's also been, along with Evan, there's been the likes of Jamie Mullins, Andy Moore, and even before that, Warren O'Hara, who's gone to Brighton and then gone off and been quite an influential figure at MK Dons. So there's obviously quite a big interest in the Irish League, in the Irish market from Brighton. Why do you think that is? Or is there, does that kind of speak volumes about the quality of the young players that are coming through in Ireland that big teams like Brighton are looking at them?
I think they'll always look there. I think everyone understands how good of a market is for young players coming through. I think they like the attitude of a lot of the Irish boys that are coming over. That side of it, they're probably not used to it, having massive club in your town and going to see someone every week, and the hunger to probably come over and to see what it is over here. And as well, I think John Moran would have had a big say in that when he was here as academy manager. I know Leroy McCourt does loads of work back home scouting for the club, and it's a club that we've probably always had Irish players here over the years. I think we've got Evan, Andy, Killian in goal, James Furlong, Jamie Mullins, Lee Kavanagh. I think we've got 6 or 7 Irish boys here at the moment. So it's always been a market we've been interested in, to be honest. I get a bit of stick, probably saying that I'm trying to get more over and get and get more Irish lads in. But no, it's a credit to the club as well. Listen, I'm sure all them lads would have had options to go to many clubs. How they're looked after here, how they're treated here, and I think you touched on it. You've got a pathway here. Whether it's in the Air Force team or another first team, I think that's where we probably do it. And I know clubs get stick for it and all, but the amount of players that we've probably had careers in probably League One, League Two, Championship, Serie A, Holland, they've got players that have come through this academy that are playing conference, some that have gone on to university, and some have come back as coaches. I think the package with the club and how it looks after them, and there's always a different path for everyone. Listen, if you don't make it to the Premier League, it's not the end of the world, but can we get you in? Can we get you in at this level? Can you get a career over? Can you switch it? Some people have done something completely different. So I think that's an attractive thing. But no, we definitely like the Irish market. I like it a lot. I think it's a hungry market for players coming over. And I think Brexit's probably killed it a little bit with players coming over. And I know Ireland's catching up, but from probably 16 to 18, the contact hours and the hours of training, I know people are saying it's still better to stay at home. Probably maturity-wise, 100% better, because I don't think I would have lasted coming over at 16. But for the hours that you're missing, probably in the contact you're getting at an academy now, I know Shamrock Rovers are doing a lot of good things, and clubs are trying all around the league to get it, facilities, and it's hard for coaches to get jobs in Ireland, full-time jobs, to give up work when you're not playing a lot. It's really difficult, but I think that age group probably, if I think of Andy and Evan, I think Andy was tuned in to play like for the 16s when he came over, because he was underdeveloped, and they thought, oh no, he's actually all right. His football ability is that good. He can play in the 18s. He played in the 18s for a year. He's straight into 21. So there's always been a plan in place, and I think it's hard when you probably don't get that unless you're playing first team football, probably League of Ireland. Listen, definitely if you're playing at 16, 17 in the league, you're learning and progressing from the game. But I think Brexit's probably slowed it down a little bit and probably made it harder. I know a lot of them are going away to Europe now, which is brilliant, which I think can only be a good thing as well.
That's actually interesting, the point on Brexit, because that's one of the questions I had was, you mentioned that kind of 16 to 18, probably that crucial stage when you're just starting to come, obviously your man, you may break into first teams or trying to, the contact hours have to be improved. Like I say, the majority of contact hours in Ireland is probably at 3 or 4 hours a week. Probably that's what you're talking here compared to the UK. I'd imagine 10 plus, that's my get. I don't know, you'd know better than me.
Yeah. Definitely. Like the 15s and 16s, they have the day release from school still over here. So they're coming in, they're training in the evening. They get 2-day releases during the week. They come in from school. So you're getting loads of contact hours. You're getting more games. And obviously the level of games are obviously a little bit better because the pool of players is bigger over here. Listen, we had 15, 16s got to play Bayern Munich, PSG, Monaco we played. So you get probably different levels of game and challenges that you probably only get if you're in the international setup really at that age back home in Ireland. And it's hard there, probably for that reason. They're missing out on probably as much contact hours and probably the technical side of it here that you need to get every day. And I think it's harder for the lads now probably to get into it. You'll probably see a lot more of them in the European leagues and probably in the Premier League straight away now, because if you're coming over at 18, there's probably a lot more demands on you. You're looking at, you've got a shorter window to impress and progress and probably get into a first team in the Premier League. So it'll be probably harder for that. The beauty of it is you'll probably see more players in Europe now breaking in at a younger age, because if they're going over a bit earlier.
What in terms of that 16 to 18 bracket, and I suppose in the league at the moment we've a lot of players like even my own club, Adam Murphy, Sam Curtis, 17, 18, who are in the first team now, Pats, getting minutes, will more than likely end up playing in the UK, where Scotland or England possibly with 100 appearances under their belt for the 1920. Is that as beneficial as playing as a, say, 16, 18-year-old in the academy, or what do you think is more beneficial to the player?
Well, I would have done it myself. I think I had 70 odd appearances for UCD. I think every journey is different. As I said, listen, it worked for me. It might work for them. Evan's way worked for him. Andy's way worked for him. There's no one way for a kid. And I've been there. I've been told I was in the boat. I didn't go to England at 16. My career's over at 16. That's how it was back then. If you didn't go to England at 16, you were done. I'm thinking, you think of it now, you're thinking, what? That is absolute madness. So every journey is different. And we'll speak about that to our lads. You'll have lads that are coming up now for the first time to the 21, so their first year pros from a scholarship at 18, and they might play 10 games. You might play every game. You might go straight to the first team. You might, I think it was Ben White, I think he played 10 or 11 games in the 21s in his first year as a first year pro, and then goes gets a £50 million move to art. Like, every journey is always so different, and to shoehorn and say, oh, this is the way to do it, or they've got to stay in Ireland for this. I think it's for the individual. As I said, if I probably went over at 16, I probably wouldn't have lasted. I used to hate going away on trials, hate staying in houses. It's a lot different now. Some lads are well able for it, some aren't. So I think it's probably understanding. I always go back to the family. I think you'll know deep down, no one knows their kids better than their parents and their brothers and their family, sisters. They'll know. And for them two lads you probably spoke about, that's probably the world of good for them. They probably wouldn't have progressed, probably going away as much. They might have been a slow burner. So I'm not going to sit here and say that's the wrong thing and the right thing, because I done it. It worked for me. It mightn't work for you too. So it's so hard to say it, but they're playing first team. I think if they had probably still been playing 19s football, I'm probably thinking, yeah, it's probably not good enough for them in Ireland to progress with the standard of all-round player and the quality of the league compared to what they probably got in our under-21s league. You're playing against Man City that are signing players for 7, 8, 9 million, selling them on for 30 million at under-21 age, and they're all going to be internationals. 2 of them might get in the first team. So hard to judge it. But I'd never turn my nose down at people getting in and playing first team football and learning the game, because then basics never change in football.
Could you give an idea to the people listening in terms of the structure of a Premier League academy? Because obviously some people might not have, obviously they know in terms of lots of money and they know people are involved, but like just like even your own day to day, like what's it like actually working in a Premier League academy?
So probably we'll have like under 9s up to under 16s. So that'll be probably mostly individual based. Very little team stuff, very little. All the way up. When you hit 18, you start to learn how to win. It's the first time you're in a league and you're in the U Cup. So that's when you start to learn how to win, play as a team, understand probably formations a lot more, more team stuff. And then 21s, still about development, which they all are, but you're starting to learn that, oh yeah, you got to start winning games, understand how to win. It's not the be all and end all. But a normal day for us, we'll have the 16s, 18s and 17s that are in. We'll probably communicate with the first team to us, to the 18s. So a normal day could, first team come down and say, listen, we want 12 players. We're left with 7. We'll take some from the 18s. They'll come up. So we'll have set way of training. We do specialised coaching. So we'll have in possession and out possession coaches. We also have an individual coach now that we've got that'll oversee from like 16s to 21s. So we'll usually do that one day a week, 2 days a week at like 15s, 16s. Probably 18s will do a little bit more So they'll have IDPs, they call their individual stuff, where it's between the player and the coach in areas that they're really good at, areas that they want to get better at. And they'll have a plan, a 6-week plan for that. That's got to be taken over and done, and then you got to present it back and show them the proof that you're doing it, because that's a big thing at the club. Don't just say it, you've got to prove what you're doing. So we'll do a lot of individual stuff as well. And it's come on so much when you think about it. And I'll go back to the individual again. It's always so different for every individual, what stage they're at. You'll have lads that, look at Andy and Evan. One's a monster at 16 and one looks 13 when he's 16. How different their programs look, how different their gym stuff's going to look, how different what they're going to eat's going to look. Everything is so different. You've got to be more patient probably with one, and you've got to probably pull the other one back because you think, he can do more, he can do that. But he was 16 at the time. So it changes so much. The detail into the coaching is probably the biggest thing that's probably come on now. Probably now, it used to be training. So you'd come in and train. Now it's a lot more coaching, which is good. It's not stop-start like everyone thinks it is. Everyone thinks everyone's a mannequin coach now. Every second counts for us. That's probably a motto we'll use. So every time, every minute we're on the grass, second we're on the class, what we do. And the game, I think our games program is really good. The level of games. I think we played in the International Cup last year, PSV, Monaco, Feyenoord, Sparta Prague, Valencia, giving lads exposure to these different types of games. We'll play in men's Sussex Senior Cup, so they're playing. We got beat by Bognor, who are part-time local team in the semi-final, and it's lads that want to chop you in half, want to play crappy pitch. So we try expose our players to probably as much as we can, and not just have, because everyone batters it. That's not real football. It's the football that you have to play to get into our team in the first team in the Premier League. So of course we're going to play like that because we've got to produce Premier League footballers. No point in us going out and saying knock it long, and they go up to the first team, and the manager's like, no, he's not for me. So our goal is to produce Premier League footballers. So we've got to play like a Premier League team, and we'll have a philosophy throughout the whole academy from 9s the whole way up. Certain principles, certain things that a Brighton side has got to look like, and that doesn't change from Graham Potter in charge to the Zambia in charge. That's straight through the academy. We'll tweak it when a new manager comes in. From 9s to 16s won't really. They'll take little bits from it. But the club philosophy doesn't change. 18s, 21s, we'll slowly drip stuff in that's happening in the first team. So then that when they do go up, it's not alien to them. But the club won't change every time a new manager comes in of what's going on. Which probably happens at most clubs where new 21s manager comes in, new academy manager comes in and stuff like that. So the alignment in the club the whole way down is probably the best I've seen at a club.
In terms of Roberto De Zerbi's involvement with the academy, like how much communication would you have? Because obviously you guys are next in line as 21 coaches. How much communication do you have with De Zerbi in terms of what players to bring in? I'm sure there was a conversation probably had with Evan Ferguson. Is he ready to come into the first team? So how does that work in terms of you talking to the first team coaches?
Yeah, so it's really good. We've always had like a go-to that's been from the first team to the academy. We've always had a link. Crofty, who was the 21s manager, who I played with as well, he moved over when all the staff left. So he was the go-to between the academy and the first team to help the manager first settle in. He brought in a lot of his own staff, someone that knows the league, knows the academy really well. So the club straight away were like, we need someone over there that's going to help the manager. So Crofty would be our go-to. Listen, he managed most of the lads. He'll know all the academy, knows how it works. So to have that link between the first team and the rest of the academy is massive, and it's obviously helped. as you say, I think we had again 6 or 7 debuts last year, or even more in the first team. So to have that link between the manager and the academy is massive for the club. As I said, everyone wants to know what's going on. The chairman will have reports. Paul Barber will have reports every week on how every team's doing. The interest in it and the connection with it. Again, we train literally. They'll train on the first team side and their side. It's about 100 yards away. So you'll see it all the time. The connection between the two. If we have a lot of players over there, we'll go over and watch training. I'm learning just as much as the players there. Under the two managers that I've worked under so far with Graham and the manager now in place. So it's definitely a connection, as I said, that alignment from the first team down. I think you see it from the chairman. He wants managers that play a certain way. So that's his philosophy, club's philosophy. I think you look at Leeds, you'll have one manager that comes in one way, one comes in a different way. I think, listen, everyone have different styles within that, but it's a possession-based team. If you come watch a Brighton under-9 team, or you go watch a Brighton under-15 team, you'll see it in alignment of being a possession-based team, an exciting team, wanting to score goals, wanting to attack. And that's a credit to the club. I said, having that plan. And I go back to the Ireland thing. I'm sure they've got a plan with where they see the team, where they see the management, style of play they want the players they want to come through, and how many tournaments you want to qualify for, probably. And it's hard, and it does take time, but we're blessed because I'm in an academy. I'm not getting scrutinised every week. Listen, I'll hurt more than most, but my job's not on the line if I get beat next week, whereas you are when you're in the first team. And it's probably the nature of the beast and the hard bit to accept, but I think that alignment between the first team, as you can see it now, he's not been afraid, manager, to throw players in at all, and it's a credit to him and probably the club, because it's not easy getting into a Premier League team that finished 6th. I think when you strip it back and you realise it, you look at all the other ones, you're thinking that's not easy. And for all them boys to get debuts and to play and been in and around it and training over there every day, it's not easy at all. I think people forget about that every day. Every window there's players been linked with the club, young players. You're constantly footing the pedal, and the club's getting bigger and we're signing better players all the time. So it's not easy at all. So it's a massive credit to the lads, probably more so.
Do you miss playing at all?
Oh, 100%. Still join in every now and then. I miss it. Unbelievable. I think, listen, there's some players that don't. They can't wait to get away from it. I was out for a run this morning. I miss training. Listen, I don't miss the bad days at all. I don't miss not winning or scrapping around or trying to pick up points when you're struggling. But yeah, listen, miss training, miss competing. They're over in Monaco playing, we're over there, and I'm thinking what I'd get to be out on that pitch playing, hanging off the side of a rock, unbelievable settings, sunshine, and I'm thinking no better. So I know definitely I miss playing badly, but I'm in a job where it's the next best thing for me, and something I've always wanted to do. So to stay in football, I think it's hard. I think people stay in football sometimes and it is scary because you don't know. You think it's all or no, but I don't see it as a job. For me, it's just the next part of probably my life, and I'd have done it for free if I would have. Even if I hadn't played football, I'd have been in coaching or been involved in football somehow along the way. And I'm learning loads, to be honest with you. The last 2 years, you think you know stuff, and you know nothing. The amount I've learned in the 2 years here under the managers here, the detail that goes into it, the stuff that I've learned like that, I've learned a lot more patience than I was as a player. Probably the biggest thing. I've learned not to probably get uptight over certain little things and let stuff go that I probably wouldn't have let go as a player. So, no, I'm in a great, listen, I know how privileged I am probably to be in the position I am at the club I'm at. It's 10 minutes from my house. I'm sure my wife and kids are delighted. I've been away for long enough. So to come back and to have all that, I know how lucky I am, to be honest with you, and how hard it is to get a job in football. And you get nothing easy in football. I think people probably look on the outside, but I worked hard to probably get to where I am as well. Get me badges in, doing the hours. When I was at Kilmarnock or Carlisle, helping kids coach and doing stuff. So I'm loving it at the moment. I'm learning loads. I'm in no rush to go anywhere, and I'm just trying to soak as much as I can from as many people as I can, to be honest.
Yeah, and guys, like, listening to you, it sounds like you're absolutely loving it, and it's going to the dream job that you have there at the moment. And like you say, you're learning a huge amount. And I know you're not really, that long out of the game from the playing side. And like you say, you are happy enough where you are in Brighton on the coaching side with the 21s. Have you kind of goals or aspirations for after this? Would you like to move up into maybe a first team job or into management then after that?
Oh, 100%. Listen, definitely. I'm ambitious as the next guy. I never played in the Premier League. I think everyone wants to manage in the Premier League. I know I'm not going to go from where I'm at to jump to a Premier League. But 100%, I want to go out there and manage, test yourself. I think if I probably had I think it was at Kilmarnock at the time, and when I left there, I probably could have got a job back there with the first team. But I think if I had been there now and had 2 years there now as a coach, and no disrespect to that, I wouldn't have learned half as much as I learned coming back here and the environment I'm in now and working on the managers I'm working under. The really good ones I've worked under, Gus Poyet, Steve Clark's. I learned so much from them, learning loads now. So where I'm at right now, I'm probably ahead of where I probably thought I would have been when I stopped playing football. But it's football. There's always someone coming. There's always someone else doing well. There's always a club that's producing players. There's always managers that are upcoming managers. So I think the game's changing now. I think clubs aren't as scared now probably to get younger people in. I think you see in the league back home, it's great to see all the young managers managing back home. And it's good. It's bringing new life, new ideas. And there's some really good coaches out there at all ages. I'll talk about our club. We'll have lads that are coaching the under 9s, 10s, 12s last 10 years, and I'm learning from them. So there's always so much to learn from everyone that's been in the game. I think I've been quite lucky with that. I've had a long career. They've had long coaching careers, so you're picking bits off everyone and anyone at a football club. And the amount of people that we have over there in the academy side now, as I said, the amount I've learned, but 100%, I'd like to get out and be involved in the first team, whether that's been a first team coach, whether it's been an assistant manager or being a manager itself. 100% I've got ambitions to do that. I'll know I'll have to move away probably to do that. I'm not daft enough to think I'm going to get a Brighton job at 38 in the next few years. But no, it's exciting, and as I said, football's amazing. When you probably think you're going nowhere or nothing happens, bang, it happens like that. And I found myself in a position where I came in as an overage player, enjoyed the coaching. I'll probably speak John Moran an awful lot. He offered me the 18-inch job because he's obviously seen something in me in the 6 months I was here. And it's hard to get jobs at any club. And for him to see something in me and to offer me the 18-inch job when I did. And then for the club that obviously, when all the changes came about, then offered me the job to come up with the 21s. They obviously seen something in me as well. And people, you get a lot of it. ex-players getting it easy. Listen, maybe the top ones that get the big jobs, but when a job comes up in our academy, there's hundreds applying for it. Hundreds of really good ex-players that are in the same boat as everyone. So not everyone gets it handed to them, to be honest with you. I think ex-players probably get that. But probably one thing that probably opened my eyes is how good the level of coaches that probably weren't players, and people batter them probably just as much, thinking, oh, they never played the game. But I'll touch on it, I've learned loads off. Even Shannon Root, who I'm working with now, he never played, but he's been coaching 15, 20 years. I've learned loads off him, learned loads off other people that have never been a player. So they've got a good mix at Brighton. I think probably with the 18s and 21s, and 16s, they probably have an ex-player and a coach. So they'll have someone that has played the game, someone that's coached for a long time, and they'll try to combine the two together. So they're quite switched on with stuff like that, really, at the club. And there's a pathway here for coaches. Listen, for analysts, the amount of people that have moved from the academy over to the first team side is massive as well. We've got an Irish physio over that side as well. We've got lads that have gone over that have been analysts over that side the last 2-3 years. So there's a pathway there for coaches, physios, S&Cs, linking to the club. So it's an exciting place to be. But yeah, hopefully I'll be a lot calmer than I am. I think that's the main thing that I've probably learned. But then you see our manager and the passion he has on the sideline. It's box office as well. So just being yourself, I think, is the most important that I've learned. You take bits from everyone, but you've got to be yourself and how you want to be in the job. And I learned loads. I keep banging on it, but the last 2 years, I probably learned more in them 2 years than I did in all the years I did playing.
Do you take bits from managers you play? You mentioned Gus Poyet, obviously, but even going back further in terms of maybe Pete Matten, even maybe, I've heard stories about Jim Gannon maybe as well. Do you take stories off these managers you played with as well?
Yeah, definitely. Listen, I spoke to Pete not so long ago. I know Eddie Wallace passed away as well. And listen, I can remember, I'm a bit like that. I've got a great memory. I remember Pete and Eddie standing on the lawns watching me playing for Cherry Orchard before I was signing for UCD, and the effort they put in to get me there. I could have signed for Pats, Dells, Bows at the time. And I think I was probably quite switched on at that age and understood that where I was going and putting trust in them. Them coming, I think they knew every player in Dublin, let alone probably Ireland. They used to go to every game, Pete and Eddie. You'd see them at schoolboy games, and they came over, and they're a massive part of my career. Listen, I went in, they let me come in early to UCD. I went in 6 months before I was signing, so I used to train on a Monday with UCD, Cherry Orchard Tuesday, UCD Wednesday, Cherry Orchard Thursday. I was the only one that done it, probably called a busy arse for doing it. But they seen it, they let me, and then they played me straight away when I signed. I think I played at Bowes, my debut in the League Cup. I came on. I didn't think I'd played. No, my family went. They usually they go to every game. And have fair coming on a daily amount. But yeah, listen, I take bits from them. They were great people. Both really good managers. Both probably had a great eye for young players. They probably don't get the credit that they had. I learned loads from them. The standards, the demands, shouting at me and screaming at me, wanting more from me at a young age. But they gave me a chance when probably everyone thought I was dead and buried at 16, because I didn't go to England. So same with Jim Gannon. I learned a lot from him. If I didn't play in League of Ireland, I probably wouldn't have moved to England, because I played against his Dundalk team. That's where he spotted me from after I went to Birmingham. So it can always link together, and you need a bit of luck. I don't care what anyone says. You need a bit of luck in this game, whether you're a player, manager. You need a bit, and that was my bit of luck. He see me and went over there, and I learned a lot from Jim. be fair. Understanding the game. Probably his man management skills could probably be a little bit better. I've learned from that, but probably the most I've probably learned from is Gus and Steve Clark, to be honest. Completely different characters, but similar in so many ways. The level of detail, their understanding of the game, getting the most out of players, making players better. Both of them were the best at that. They made average players better, and they made good players brilliant. They both had systems that suited the players that they had. They had a way they wanted to play, and I probably learned loads from them, from training, the flow of training sessions. As I said, tactically, they were both probably the best I played under. Completely different, but I learned loads from them, from their characters, how they were, how they spoke to players. One was really friendly. Gus would be in the middle of it. Steve Clark wouldn't speak to you. Didn't speak to anyone for the first 6 months. So probably learned loads from them. And then, as I said, from coming back down and being here when Graham Potter was here, learned loads. Now the manager now, it's so exciting. I can't wait to watch Brighton every week. To see how everyone sets up against us, to see what way we're setting up. I've just bought my kids and my wife season tickets because I have 2 girls, and I thought, happy days, they won't be near football. They won't even like football. My mum was like, I'm so happy I had 2 girls. I don't want anyone to go through football again. They love it. They love watching it. Bought them season tickets. And it's just a good place to be like that. With the manager now, as I said, I think everyone's that excited to see how we play. The brand of football that we're playing, it's probably the best I've seen. It's the best Brighton team I've seen, probably anyone will ever see. And just hope it continues, and I hope he stays here for a bit longer.
I remember Gus Poyet was there when you were playing. Was that when he was there, Moods manager on BBC? Was that when you were there at the time as well? Were you gone?
He'd left, so that was just before the season is finished. So we both kind of left at the same time. I done really well for the club here as well. I think you look back at the plan. The plan back in 2009 was probably Premier League football. Not in 2 years, 3 years. 10-year plan would have been set out from the club, and he was the chairman's first appointment, and I think the chairman got a spot on. It was how he seen the game, and I think, as you said, if you look at a Brighton team from then to now, that's how he wanted it to look. Dominate the ball, excite people, and he was a massive part of it. Big character, really good character, and done a good job here, to be honest. I'm sure the chairman say the same. And it happens in football. People leave football clubs for whatever reason. As players, you never know anything. You're always last to find out. You lads usually find out before us what's going on. But yeah, no, it was a great time. It's good to see him over at Greece. Only seen him for a quick hello, but to see him now and the passion he still has for the game, I think that's the most impressive part, because I know what it's like motivating 22 lads every day. They've been doing it for 20 odd years, motivating people. It's probably the hardest thing to do. I think you look at the great managers, and that's probably the massive part of it. Having that drive, that motivation every day to drive people on, with the pressures that come with it as well. I've not experienced that as a coach, as a player probably, but when you're in charge of the whole lot, you can only imagine the energy that you need every day, every game to go at it. So I touched on it earlier. I don't think I'll sit here and criticise any manager, especially if you're coaching yourself. I'll always touch on it. I wouldn't be too pushed on it if I was in a job to go on the telly and start battering people, because I know how hard it is to set a team up, get a team playing, to win football games. It's not that easy, because everybody would be doing it if it was. So, yeah, I've really enjoyed it, to be fair, working under their managers, and he had a really good time here, Gus, and he's done a good job at Greece as well.
Okay, in great time, Paul. Just the last question. We were chatting before we come on. Pre-season around the corner now starts. It's already started, really, hasn't it?
Yeah, well, to be fair, it doesn't stop. I think that's the main. It was coming in when I was starting out. I think gone are the days where you came back 7 kilos overweight and you came back to get fit. Last year, the first team didn't even test. They didn't do any fitness testing. They just came back and went straight to training. And I was like, oh my days, where was this 10 years ago, 15 years ago? I'd have loved it. But I think the credit now, I know Grealish is in the paper and people are going mad saying, but like the level that you are, it's 12 months a year now being a professional footballer. Some of them have 3 nights out and the world's going nuts. He's just won the treble. Every day he's scrutinised what he's eating, what he's drinking, how much sleep he's getting. Is he recovering? Pressure of playing, performing. And players are coming back fit and ready now. As you said, someone's getting 10 days off. You're not going to lose fitness in 10 days, but people are a lot more switched on. You see lads that'll have personal coaches, PTs, going on holidays and doing it while they're on holidays. So now, it's changed a lot. So we start back Monday. I think we'll only have 12 or 13 boys back. Yeah, because a lot of them are away, still resting from that. So no, it's the nerves aren't anywhere near as bad, I don't think, as what it was when I was coming back for pre-season. And goalkeepers are fitter now. That was my go-to back in the day. Beat the goalkeepers, you're safe. Goalkeepers are fitter than anyone now. But no, it's changed a lot with sports science, with all the numbers, the data you have. And what you need to do, you need to tail it back. So it'll still be tough, but it's nowhere near the level it used to be.
Yeah, even great time. Thanks for coming on, and we'll chat again soon.
No problem. Cheers, lads. Thank you.
Get in touch. You can email us at extratimelive@gmail.com or tag us on Instagram using the hashtag League of Ireland or tweet us at Extra Time News.
Let's do it.
Welcome to the third half. I'm delighted to see Macdara Ferris joined us. Macdara, how are you?
I'm good, Luke.
I suppose we'll crack on with the women's team. I suppose we're probably going to cover it more and more over the weeks go on with the World Cup just on the horizon. In terms of the game last night, I actually didn't see any sort of highlights, so you were at the game for extra time. Do you want to give us a quick synopsis of the game?
Yeah, it was a good game. I think it was everything really that Ireland were looking to get out of it. We're only a week away from Vera Pauw having to name her squad, so she wanted to try out a few different players. Some stepped up, maybe some stepped back, and that's a tough call she needs to make, because there's a squad of about, I think, maybe 35, 31 in the training camp, and then there's the 3 US based players who are still playing, and they're coming back. So it's about a 35 player squad that she has, but that needs to be cut down to only 23, and plus 3 training players are going to go out. So that was really tough. Like the way they arranged the fixture was playing Zambia because they're playing Nigeria in the last game, and they wanted to play an African side. We don't want to kind of get, the style of African teams, but Vera Pauw spoke about, well, Nigeria play pretty similarly to Zambia, which is a strong counter-attacking team, and we saw that last night, and it did cause Ireland difficulty. There was a few last gasp tackles that Niamh Fahey and Louise Quinn, who was captain of the side, needed to make. But they didn't play particularly well in the first half. And they were 1-0 down at the break. Pretty unlucky own goal. Ball come off Izzy Atkinson, hit the post, came back out and hit Courtney Brosnan and went back in. Really nothing she could do. And I thought she did have a good game. But they were much better in the second half. And Vera Pauw spoke about, the players looking to not have any fear, have no fear of failure, to actually go out, and they were much better in the second half. They'd made 5 switches at half time, which was planned, just to give players game time, and Amber Barrett came on to replace Saoirse Noonan, and Barrett scored within 4 minutes of penalty, and she kind of looked to take the ball herself, and Megan Connolly were probably the ones looking to take it up with Katie McCabe not on the pitch, and she slotted it home, and it was her first goal since she scored in Hampden Park to get Ireland to the World Cup, which was quite amazing. She's had a difficult few months since then, and she talked afterwards about the weight of the world lifting off her shoulders when she scored the goal. She's had injury, she's changed clubs, she moved to Standard Liège, and she probably did enough to cement her place on the plane to Australia, and maybe ahead of probably Saoirse Noonan, and Leanne Kiernan started as well. She's got very little game time, and this was their last chance. They do play one more friendly, which is against France, but going to name the squad before then. There is the opportunity if players get injured that they can bring players in up until a certain date. But it's a difficult time for Vera Pauw, and she spoke about it afterwards. And actually, I talked to her and asked her about it. What had she got what she wanted out of the game, and here's what she had to say.
Vera, did you get what you wanted from the game? The fans went away happy to see the goals in the games.
We got more of that than what we hoped that we could get out of the game. So it's been really, really beneficial. We always play to win, and the way that we got that win over the line is phenomenal, because we are in pre-season, as you can see after the 17th minute. That's always the moment that where you're not super fit and you get the problems. Different players cramping up, but the professional way of dealing with that is phenomenal. 2 years ago we would not have been able to do that, and we got the win over the line by their behaviour and by killing the game actually. While still playing, because we are not a team that's going to die for anything, but we knew how to calm down the game and what to do. And the fact that Claire Rorden said, "I'm not going off, I stay on," and she started as a player, as a striker, so it was not really new. But there we didn't need that, and we needed more in the back line, of course. So the last few minutes we turned that around so that we could end with 11 players.
And you were playing Zambia because it was a setup for the Nigeria game. Yeah. They gave you a very good game. They were very strong, particularly on the attack, on the counter-attack as well. So you got a chance to...
They're physically so strong and fast and skillful. So we knew that would be a huge problem. So it was moments. We knew also if we pressed them, they were not so good in playing out. But the space that we left behind us, that was the problem. And everybody, they know now what it is to play an African team and how difficult it is to play an African team.
In terms of what we're listening to Vera there, like there's probably one or two positions still probably up for grabs. I suppose that's going to be the tough decision. Like you mentioned there, the American players to come in. I assume that was Sinead Farley. I assume wasn't there last night.
No, and Denise Sullivan, because they're still playing. This match was out of the window.
Yeah, so like I suppose bringing Sinead Farley in, who's just come out of retirement, and getting her cap there in the last window, to me that strikes that she's going to be in the squad. That there's no reason to why you would. So the tough decision is going to be like, this is the player coming in. It's going to be tough on the player that may play the campaign or play minutes in the campaign, not going. That's more than like what you're looking at. That's going to be a very tough decision for Vera.
Yeah, it will be. She talked about it being a horrible decision that she needs to make, and she'll talk to that with her technical staff, but it's a decision that rests on her shoulders. She had been working with like a 50-player squad, and she did say that she had actually texted all the players who weren't in the squad last night on the way to the stadium, I suppose, just to acknowledge their contribution. But it's really, really difficult. Like Heather Payne is slotted in at kind of the right wing back, which is a position that Anya Gorman has played, and that's something new that we've seen through training and through this game. And say Leanne Kiernan is probably one of the players in and around, but it's really, really difficult. She'll bring 3 training players to the as well who'll go out there, but I'm presuming they're probably going to be quite young players rather than kind of an experienced player who's kind of been there and done that. Like Claire Reardon's 28, she popped up with the second goal and showed her versatility with scoring a header, and Pauw talked about bringing her into the team for her physical presence, for winning headers without fouling, and she ended the game up front, but it was more to do that she was actually had got cramp at that stage, and they'd made the 6 subs because this was a full international after the 60-minute mark. So she pushed up front, where she did play with Wexford Youths before, and she scored in the Scottish Cup final just the other week against Rangers when Celtic won 2-0. So I think, again, she was a player who probably took her chance on the night. She was playing kind of the left of the back three. She took her chance certainly to come into the squad, I think, to go. And the players have the weekend off before they're back in training on Monday, where they're back in to UCD, where they've been kind of switching between UCD, where they're staying, and also out at Abbottstown. I think maybe not out there when the men's senior team were there as well, but they've been in training together. And I did speak to Claire Reardon just after the game and kind of asked her, what the plans were for the weekend. Could she tune off from the big decision that's coming the way later on the week, whether she's going to make the squad or not? And here's what she had to say.
You spoke about working hard over the last fortnight. Was it almost a sense of relief to have a match this evening to play, to concentrate on?
Absolutely. Everyone loves playing football games. That's why we're here, because we love the game and it's our passion, and we enjoy the preparations for it as well, because we're building team morale, we're building as a group, and again, we work towards the game tonight, and I'm very thankful and grateful that we were able to get that result.
You have a few days off. Do you try and switch off and not think about what's coming next week and decisions that might be made over the weekend, or?
Well, I can't tell you what I'm going to be thinking over the next couple of days, but I do know that I'm going to be going home with my family now, back to Limerick, back to Newcastle West, and I'm going to spend some time with them because I haven't seen them in quite a while. My parents were over for the cup final, so I've seen them enough. But no, I'm going to enjoy the time with them, and my feet are firmly on the ground. So whatever comes in the next days, I'm prepared for.
I find it hard to believe if I was in that position I'd be able to switch off. I know she spoke about there saying she'd be able to switch off and relax with her family back in Limerick, but I don't know. I think if I had the opportunity to go to the World Cup, I'd find it very difficult to put it at the back of mind.
Yeah, it's huge. Like, the players were asked at some of the media events earlier on the week, what the atmosphere was like, and they were kind of concentrating on this, that this match was almost a bit of a relief, the one on Thursday night that they were playing. But it must be really, really difficult, because there's players, ultimately there's probably 13 players that have been in camp that won't actually go or won't be part of the squad. And the chance to go to play in the World Cup, there's such big hype about it, and rightly so. It'll form part of all the sporting fixture over the next month, and it's just a massive opportunity. It gives them the chance to, most of them are professional, but not all of them kind of full-time professional. It gives them the opportunity to go to the World Cup, be part of that group for a number of weeks. FIFA also, any of the players that are playing, they'll get, I think it's $30,000, which for some of the players, for all the players, it's a nice amount of money, but some are at the earning power of someone like Katie McCabe is very different from the earning power, maybe somebody like Abby Larkin, or any of the players that are playing in the League of Ireland. So, that's really good for them, but it's a chance to play for the country in the World Cup. We're all football fans, and you think back to certainly when you were younger and the tournaments that Ireland played, the men's team, and what that meant. And I think this will be similar for both girls and boys when they're watching the games in the World Cup, which thankfully are at reasonable times across the summer holidays. It's not the kind of early morning, but not too early morning, so people will get the opportunity to see the team play. But they are in a difficult group, having to start the tournament on opening night with playing the hosts, and then they're Canada across in Perth, and then Namibia. Nigeria is the last game in Brisbane, where the team are actually based. So they're based themselves in Brisbane, and they'll fly down to Sydney, and they'll fly across to Perth, which is quite a trek, as a lot of people will know, for the game. So yeah, difficult enough. But they'll play France just Thursday week, the night before they fly out to the World Cup, and they will play one game, kind of a behind closed doors game against Colombia, maybe not quite behind closed doors, but they'll be able to make more than the number of subs allowed in a friendly international. They want to, both managers have kind of agreed that they want to be able to play more players and give them some game time. So it won't be an official international, but they will play that in Brisbane before the kickoff on the opening day of the tournament.
One of the things they were speaking about on the RT coverage when I watched it back last night was this notion that they're going to be 4 goalkeepers. And that seems as interesting choice, maybe is the correct word, when you're struggling to break your squad down to 23 and then bringing a 4th goalkeeper. Was that mentioned last night at all?
No, it wasn't something that came up certainly when I was talking to with the digital media with Vera Pauw. So I hadn't heard that. Yeah, 4 seems quite a lot. I wouldn't see a need to bring 4 if you think back to other tournaments. Now, there has been this discussion, and one of the reasons why they're bringing 3 training players is that they'll look to stand down some players when they're on their period, because they're more likely in the women's game to get injuries during that time. A number of countries were trying to bring a bigger squad than 23, which would have been at the last Men's World Cup as well. But they're bringing 3 training players, which the FAI have to pay for, but is allowed. So potentially, maybe that's they have to stand down maybe 1 or 2 of the goalkeepers at a certain stage. But so that's the only thing that I can think of, that might be the reason. But like Courtney Brosnan, like that was her 12th consecutive game last night for Ireland, and she's definitely the number 1 and has earned that jersey over the last kind of 18 months.
Yeah, and Tony done his interview where Vera after the game, and that was actually asked by him that, will you not think of bringing a goalkeeper in to get the minutes? And she just came out and said no, because she's number 1 that she needs the minutes for the tournament. So she's laid down the marker there that she's going to the tournament number 1.
Yeah, I always think it's a bit different with the goalkeepers, because actually the way they work and train together, they're working quite a lot. It would be good to get some game time, but I'd say Brosnan will probably start against France. Now maybe they might bring on a substitute, but France are a very good side, and will be a step up from Zambia, who had finished 3rd in the African Cup of Nations last time, but they're ranked 77 in the world, and the rankings are a bit off from what I've heard before with the African sides, because they're essentially playing other African sides, whereas when Ireland are playing in Europe, they're playing against better teams, and when they get good results, it helps the ranking a bit more. The likes of when we drew 1-1 away in Gothenburg against Sweden.
Being a training player, I would imagine that would be a very tough position. You'd probably be delighted to go over the tournament, and I get that, but that'd be a very tough position to be in. I'd imagine that no, you're not in the 23, no chance of playing in tournament.
Yeah, it will be. Like, they'll go over on the chance, and they won't wish ill on any of their teammates, but should any of the players be injured in Australia before there's a certain date before the tournament starts, they could slot in, and that's why I was saying earlier on, I expected to be some of the younger players to give them that experience, rather than a player who's 28 and 29. Players can play on. The hope is we'll get to a World Cup in 4 years' time as well. But yeah, it will be very difficult. I think you'd be choosing a player who mentally will have to be quite strong and is kind of aware of what their role is. And Vera Pauw and her technical staff will have a better idea of, should have a good idea of what type of player, having, they've had plenty of training camps together. You need a type of player who's going to be contributing to the atmosphere of the squad as well. Someone that isn't going to be thinking, I should be in the squad, and that's really, really difficult to decide.
Well, you never know. There could be a fallout with a player, a manager over there. Maybe someone gets sent home. Who knows? Like maybe the team on World Cup traditions. Is it too soon to say that? Or okay,
I hadn't thought of that, but yeah, I think like one of the other things about the game last night was, it was a competitive game. There were some tackles flying in, but when some tackles went in, you were kind of going, oh no, you really didn't want any of the players to pick up any injuries for either team, like because they're on the brink of going to the World Cup. But yeah, there is that opportunity.
Yeah, let's hope Katie doesn't have a fallout with Vera over there. Hopefully the water balls and the footballs are brought over. Before we actually wrap up, and I suppose it's mad to have an episode of the Extra Time podcast and not talk about any domestic football. I suppose we'll chat one game very, very briefly for Macdara to back to work. Bows and Shamrock Rovers recording on Friday morning. Big game tonight, lads. Steve is still with us, so we'll get the Rovers take first as the away side will be nice. Big game for Shamrock Rovers there.
Yeah, like they've come into the break 6 points clear, having won 3 in a row without conceding a goal, which compared with the start of the season where they didn't win any in 6, you probably couldn't have predicted that would be the case. So the Shamrock Rovers players got a week off. They got a full week off. I think Bows did play a friendly. So Rovers were back training on Monday, and that was the view that they needed a break. With Europe coming up, people will have seen the European draw during the week, which is quite favourable for Shamrock Rovers. They'll be playing the winner of the preliminary tie. And if they win that, essentially they'll play in Europe 8 weeks running. So they, with the 4 away trips, potentially to Copenhagen if they win that first qualifying round. So players kind of jetted off to various places. Some stayed closer to home as well. But it was described as even as a break from training in the camp, just to kind of get away. It's intense enough with all the games. And this is probably a good game to come back to. I think they got an easy game. Can I say that if playing against UCD? I think that was their 15th consecutive win in a row against UCD in the league. But they probably need a tough game to come back to get right back into it, because they have to keep going, as they're now looking to juggle European and FAI Cup games. They got Dundalk away in that as well. They played Bows earlier on the season and won 2-0, but Bows started that game very, very well. They missed a couple of early chances and the game could have been quite different after that. But once Rovers went to goal up, they were well worth the win.
Steve, then the Bows perspective looking in tonight's game.
Yeah, I mean, I think at this stage, looking at us now, I think Bows are a little bit more kind of where people thought they would be at the start of the season. Like, started off the season really, really well, picking up some points that a lot of people didn't think we would have, or that the Bows team of last year would have maybe bottled or dropped the points in the last couple of minutes. So kind of as the early pace setters, it was a little bit strange. But I've seen people saying, it was a little bit like seeing an elephant at the top of the tree. You weren't really sure how it was going to get there, but you were pretty sure it was going to fall soon enough. And that's unfortunately for us kind of what's happened. We've lost out on a couple of points that we probably shouldn't have. The likes of the UCD game there a couple of weeks ago, which was a really poor result from our perspective. But at the same time, I know Declan Devine keeps going back to it. He was never getting carried away. I don't think any of the players were either. The fact that it's such a new group of players, and it's their first full season together. And there's also been the likes of, I think Jay Benz, after going back to Lincoln, he was only on a short-term deal. Same with I think Grant Horton is coming to the end of his deal now as well. It was only a half a season loan deal, so he looks like he's going to be going back to Cheltenham, I think. But yeah, I mean, it's going to be a difficult game. I think it's one of those things that it might be a bit of a cliche, but form goes out the window a lot of times for derbies at any level in any country. So I don't want to say it's up for grabs, but I think, I wouldn't be surprised if Rovers won it. I wouldn't be surprised if Bows won it. I wouldn't be surprised if it's a draw. It really is one of those things that can go anyway. I would say probably going into it just off the recent form and things like that, Rovers would probably be the favourites. But again, it's difficult to make these kind of predictions when it comes to a derby, especially when it's a Dublin derby in between Bows and Rovers.
Right, get off that fence. Give me a score prediction.
I'm staying firmly on my fence and going for a 1-1 draw.
1-1 draw. Derek, you're going to say 3-0, say, are you?
No, I don't think 3-0. Let's go with a 2-1. Let's go 2-1 win for Shamrock Rovers.
10 seconds then, in terms of the game Monday night, I should mention about another big game, Shamrock Rovers against Derry.
Yeah, so I think this is are the European teams playing again on Monday? Are Pats playing Monday as well?
Pats playing Dundalk away, in
so these are fixtures that essentially allow another break for teams when playing in Europe. And Derry are sitting in second place coming into Friday's games, but their form is really poor. I think maybe the break came at a good time. It gives them a chance to reset and go again. But they've, Rovers have finally got into gear and kicked on, but really they probably shouldn't be 6 points clear because it's Derry's form has kind of dropped off. I think Rory Higgins is. You probably look at the chance that Alan Reynolds has gone from Derry City and gone back to Waterford, and his assistant manager working on Keith Long, and new assistant managers come in. People will have seen Rory Higgins, the family problems, having the tragic loss of his brother earlier on in the season, and then the injuries at different stages to key players. So if Shamrock Rovers could come out of the next 4 days with 6 points, it'd go a long way to see them look to retain the title. But the opportunity is for Derry to come down. They've played well in Tala before and not got rewards, and they'll be very much geared up for this game. I think Rovers are probably thankful that it's a home game. They're not having to travel. So Dublin Derby on Friday and then a home game on Monday.
Yeah, and the last time Derry visited Tala was 2-1 to Derry, I'm going to say. It was 2-1.
Oh, can't remember. It was Derry won. Yeah. It was the first time that Shamrock Rovers had lost a home game since Sligo Rovers in 2019. So it was a long time prior to that.
Yeah. A quick run through the fixtures in the SC Electricity League. Our division starters: Drogheda United, Dundalk, St Pat, Shells, UCD Sligo, both Shamrock Rovers, and Derry City Cork. They're all tonight on Friday night, and we also have 2 games on Monday, as mentioned: Dundalk Pats and Shamrock Rovers, Derry City. In the first division, we have Cove Ramblers, Waterford, Athlone Town, Treaty, Bray, Kerry, Galway United, Longford, Finn Harps, and Wexford FC. Lads, thanks as always.
Nice one, Luke. Thanks for having us.
And thanks to Gary Dicker for hopping on too, and we'll chat to you later.